The stream is about to start. We'll talk about code or whatever we'll talk about today. It's about to start, so please hang tight while I check that everything is okay. Sound check, camera check, lights check. How's my hair? Oh, wait, I don't have any hair. Maybe put some pants on and I am good to go. So get ready wherever you are, 'cause the stream is about to start. Get ready wherever you are, 'cause the stream is about to start. Hello everyone, and welcome to another meeting of the C++ Digital Signal Processing JUCE study group. How are you all doing?
Very good.
Doing okay, thank you. How are you, Leandro?
I am doing well. I'm kind of nervous because this week I updated OBS to a major new version with lots of changes. I started my Reaper configuration from scratch again, as one does every 6 months. And now we are using the full power of every plugin and everything that we do that is strange in OBS. So we have a Skype call, we have guests, we have video from guests in the stream. Everything can go wrong. But so far it seems like it's working.
It's a stress test.
Yes, it is.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, all right. So this has been an interesting couple of weeks for me. And do you mind if I give my update first? Because it's going to be quick.
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
So in terms of the Automixer, I have been working on the JSFX land. I'm not touching C++ for now. But in the electronics land, I did get something new, a new piece of equipment, an oscilloscope.
Oh
yeah, you told us.
Sweet.
Yeah.
That was a couple, like 2 weeks ago, something?
Yeah, I guess 1 or 2 weeks ago. And I have been learning a lot using this guy. I first learned how to calibrate the probes and how to even control the different knobs to move things up and down and zoom in and out, that sort of thing. And so far it has been working for the most part. It is an old used oscilloscope from 10 years ago, and the manual is not very well written. But for the price, I think it was a good call. And I recreated that circuit from the last time I talked about electronics. I don't remember if it was the last meeting, but I talked about that little toy I made that is an oscillator using a transistor. So I recreated that on the breadboard and I probed the different parts of the circuit to see the sawtooth waveform. Lots of fun. One thing that I don't know, and I want to ask people who know more about this than me, is about the noise that I should expect from this. Because especially when I'm probing something like a mic level signal, I'm getting a lot of noise, and I don't know if that's to be expected because it is a 10-year-old oscilloscope, or if there is anything that I can do about this. One thing in particular that I'm thinking about is that the oscilloscope came with 10x probes only. So the probes attenuate the signal by 10 times. And I think that for very small signals, that's not ideal. And I think I should get 1x probes. Do you all know anything about this?
No.
No, I'm not super hot on oscilloscopes, unfortunately. But you can get noise from any source. You can get noise from your mains. It should be isolated from the mains, well enough isolated, but there's nothing like super certain about that. You could get noise from various sources. So, have you found any YouTube tutorials on that particular oscilloscopes or?
On this particular model, no, because it seems like it is an entry-level model from many years ago. No one really cares about this exact model. And there are similar videos for similar oscilloscopes that are more recent, that have been released more recently. And all I know is this that I mentioned, that 1x probes may be better. But I wanted to know if you, and this is something that I tried to Google for, but no one gives exact figures on like, you should expect noise of this many millivolts. And they always say like, oh, it depends on the quality of the oscilloscope. It depends on, for instance, like you mentioned, the mains power. So I don't know if I am getting more noise than I should, or if it is normal, and if there is anything that I should do about this. And Joel is here on the chat. Hello, Joel. And
hello, Joel.
They say the oscilloscope should not be in your chain in series. It should be in parallel so that it has no impact on the signal. True, yes. I learned about this. I also learned about how to not blow things up. In this case of this circuit that I talked about, I was just, it is isolated from the mains power. It's not mains powered. It is battery powered. So I could probe anything in any way I wanted, and that would be fine. But I also learned that if you try to probe something that is connected to mains power, you don't want to use the ground of the oscilloscope in something that is not ground on the circuit, because otherwise you would be short-circuiting the mains. So yeah, I learned the basics, like don't put the oscilloscope in series and that sort of thing. But I'm not sure that this has anything to do with noise.
Hello, Cwits.
Hey, Cwits.
Hello.
A little bit late, sorry.
It's okay. You didn't miss anything. Well, I'm sorry. That sounded ugly. I mean, we didn't miss anything plugin related. Leandro is just giving his update.
Yeah, and hello, Mage and Tail here on the chat.
Hello, Mage Tail.
Yeah, so anyway, if people know more about noise, that's my main question for now. Noise in 10-year-old oscilloscopes, what is normal, what is expected, and do you think that buying an 1x probe will help me? Anyway, so that's the bulk of my update, really. I have been working on the Automixer in JSFX, and I have been playing around with very simple circuits, but this time I'm able to see the circuits and see the electricity. And you all know how much I like being able to see what's going on besides just listening.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my update.
Cool.
Great.
So
who wants to go next?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
I have a new plugin that I created today, and the Cwits and Bo already tested it. You can check it out in the Discord. I have placed a download link. It's a Windows only, of course. But I'm going to show you what I made. But first, Cwits and Bo, did you have something urgent that you want to show? Because my presentation is going to be a long one.
I have a short presentation, so...
do you want to go first?
On the other hand, I'm having issues with Reaper. It's only doing one channel. I don't know why this is.
Do
you want to go see Cwits?
I'm not sure that mine will be short also.
Okay. Bo, do you want to show us your Reaper preferences so we can see what's going on?
Yeah, I got your plugin running, so that's not the issue. The issue is with my thing that I've been working on. One channel just stopped working for some reason. I don't know. But I'm trying to troubleshoot. But let's... I have been designing stuff.
Oh.
So, let's.
Sounds interesting.
Where is? Skype share screen. You show my together mouse, speaking in great view. Share screen.
Yeah, so Joe is asking on the chat, your plugin connecting OBS and Reaper looks incredible. Thanks for saying that. Can I get it to work? It's not compatible with OBS 28. Correct, yes. So OBS 28 is, like I mentioned, a major update, not only in terms of being a major number, but it is very different from previous versions and in a way that is not backwards compatible. So it means that any plugin, any extension, any script that used to work with OBS 27 needs to be updated. And so far, my script that connects Reaper with OBS so that you can record video in Reaper hasn't been updated. I will be working on that soon, but it's not updated yet, so it's not compatible with OBS 28. And that is true of many big players in OBS as well. So for instance, OBS NDI hasn't been officially updated to OBS 28. And the NDI extension that we are using right now on this stream, the thing that is showing that is showing Fotis by my side, is an alpha, very prone to bugs kind of version. So that's the state of things if you want to update OBS, like I did, because I wanted ARM support on macOS. So yeah, bleeding edge that we are talking about here. And my script hasn't been updated yet. And yeah, it will be interesting to update because it is almost entirely new protocol. The OBS WebSockets protocol has changed a lot. And it will be fun to go over the script and see perhaps what we need to change, but also what we can use that is new, that allows for new features and possibilities. So yeah,
I can actually use this to my advantage. If I am glitching, that means that it's not a problem with my connection, but with the OBS plugin.
Perhaps. But it seems to be working fine. Everything seems to be working fine. And now I just put the screen share on the stream. So that's also via OBS using the alpha, very early, unreleased version of OBS NDI.
The OBS gods are with us today.
Yeah, let's not jinx it, but yeah, so far so good.
So should I start with the design I've been doing, or?
Yeah,
I'll start with the design. Since I haven't got anything going as far as Visual Studio, I got it to produce plugins, but the plugins will load, so they're still weird. I'm sort of back to square two, not square one, but square two. So I decided to just design something instead. So this is an Illustrator design of the compressor that I'm going to be working on, which is called Revolver. And the principle is that it's Bezier based for the timing.
Oh, nice.
And you control you control the pilot signal, you control the side chain signal to a different degree than what you can do in other plugins. So you have you can use different RMS settings, you can use different velocities or sort of smoothing curves for the compressed pilot signal, and different low cuts. That's not that unusual. And then sort of internal and external side chain. So this is the design for it. So this is a bitmap right now. This is my novel kind of level indicator. So this the compression is going to go downwards, and the incoming signal is going that way. Hopefully, it's going to work doing the transparency and the gradient, but I'm not sure. So that's the design. But I've also been working on. You remember last time I had that thing that added, multiplied and divided things. And I realized, I came to the conclusion that sort of multiplying and dividing wouldn't make that much difference from adding and subtracting. I'm not sure why, but it didn't make that much of a difference. Plus, I added 2 more. So there's now 5 different ones. But what has popped up is this weird kind of wave-shapey thing. So that from a square wave, I can produce like odd sort of shapes. And
Very
they
nice.
look a lot like regular filters, like RBJ filters. But they can't be, though, because this is a smooth. I'm comparing different smoothing algorithms, like different IIR filters. Can you sort of chip in on this, Leandro? Because a regular RBJ filter uses 2 different samples, and they delay them in time, right?
Correct. Well, it uses the 2 previous samples as well as the 2 previous outputs of the filter itself.
Oh, yeah, so it feeds back into itself. So this is essentially what this is. It's kind of a weird roundabout way of doing an RBJ filter, I guess.
Probably not quite a bilinear filter like that, but can you isolate one of these filters? Can you turn all the other filters off and just leave one?
Sure.
So yeah, I suppose that the input signal is a square wave, and now there are no filters going on. Now this is a shape that we can recognize.
Yeah.
So
this is the original signal, and this is the filtered signal.
Yes.
Yeah. So each one of these is an IRR filter, an EMA filter. So using one of them, like you said, it produces a familiar shape.
Yeah, this shape, for instance, can you tell me what kind of filter this is?
It's an IRR filter.
No, but I mean in terms of like, is it a bandpass? Is it a notch? Is it a what?
Oh, it's a low pass.
It is a low pass, yes, because the square wave wants to move up very fast, but your filter doesn't allow it to move very fast, so it takes this round shape.
Yeah.
And then add another filter into the mix, and let's see what that does. Crazy.
Yeah. So it's basically like 3 low passes with 2 high passes. So the 3 low passes adds up, and I subtract with 2 high passes. So if I do, we're back, and then it sort of flips the phase.
Yeah, and do you know if there is any resonance on these filters that you're accumulating?
It looks like a lot of resonance.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. But the funny thing is you can do like really, really weird wave shaping things with these. I don't think you can do that with regular RBJ filter, but the principle is kind of the same. You compare different 3 different samples, and you feed back some of the output from the filter back into itself. But this doesn't really do that. But I sort of compared it with a RIA EQ, and you can get similar shapes, but you can get weirder shapes with this one.
Yeah, this reminds me of a conversation we had that was not exactly this, but kind of related when we were talking to Tail about analog physical modeling. Mm-hmm. And he brought in this example of a simple low-pass filter with a resistor and a capacitor. And then if you put 2 of these circuits, one next to the other, so the output of one is the input of the next, you get something that is not quite a second-order low-pass filter, because there is a bit of interaction between the capacitors in the circuit. So similar story here. What you're doing is just essentially combining or stacking a bunch of first order filters. But the way that you are stacking, the way that you're combining this doesn't exactly follow the principles of, I guess in the analog world would be buffering, right? You are not separating the circuits, so they are interacting. And the same thing seems to be happening here, where you have these different filters and they are interacting in weird ways. So you get things that are not quite a second order filter, and you may be getting really into a wave shaping kind of territory. But I don't have any insight as to like how you would recreate these shapes in ReEQ, or if it could be simplified, because there are filters that can be simplified. If you have a fourth order filter, you could, I'm saying simplify here, I'm not sure this is the right term, but you can turn a fourth order filter into 2 second order filters. So I don't know if the thing you are building is more complicated than it needs to be, and it could be simplified with like maybe just 1 or 2 filters, or if it really is a wave shaping kind of thing that is non-linear.
Yeah. The first version that I tried had like 3, so 2 low passes and 1 high pass. And there's not that much of a difference. You can get sort of a bit more different shapes, a bit more sort of the peaks, different shaped peaks or sharper peaks with this one. But like you said, you can simplify this and get sort of the same result, more or less the same result. Yeah. But I'm not sure if I have any use for this, but it was fun to do.
And do you think, I mean, besides the test signals, did you run some other kinds of material?
Yeah, I tried some audio samples and some vocals through it, and it was surprisingly non-eventful. It kind of smoothed the audio samples a bit, but not as much as I was hoping for.
I see.
It's amazing how you know, you take a square wave and you completely funk it up, and it doesn't sound that different to a regular audio sample.
One thing that I'm thinking about is you are only adding and subtracting this. You are never multiplying or dividing, right?
Yeah.
So the result should be linear. And then I'm interested in seeing a linear analysis of this. Can you put the Burton EQ analyzer on this?
Sure. Oh, yeah.
Because then we will see not the time domain response, but the frequency response of this. And it should behave like a filter.
Yes.
Oh my God, this thing is amazing. I love it so much. I've said it before, and I'll say it again.
The Burton, or?
Yeah, the Burton, I love it.
Yeah, so this is a filter. That's what I've produced. I produced a filter, basically.
Yeah.
Hence me referencing the RBJ equations or calculations.
Yeah, it does seem like it would functions like a low-pass filter.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and
there's your notch.
A notch, yeah. Actually, I am interested in your JS. Could you share it with us on the Discord later?
Sure, absolutely.
Thanks.
So this is a really roundabout way, or sort of ass backwards way of producing a regular filter, or not using the ReEQ or the ReEQ. So that's
still,
what I have.
I think I could create some interesting results if I feed some parameter modulation into your JS.
Yeah, it would behave differently if you did like parameter modulation to these. It would behave differently than a regular filter, because a regular filter is made to be surgical and precise. Mm-hmm. This is the opposite of that.
And I guess another theoretical consequence of only using the inputs. Hang on, are you using like the output of the last filter feeding back into the first filter or something like that? Is there any kind of feedback going on?
There's no feedback in it. There's no feedback in it.
So that it gives us a nice property that your filter will never start oscillating and blow up.
Mm-hmm.
So it is safe to automate. It is safe to do the naive thing. Well, if you want to automate these sliders, if you implemented this naively, you will probably get clicks, but you can smooth the coefficients internally and then get rid of the clicks. So you could automate the sliders and put some LFOs in there, and you're guaranteed to not blow up, which is always nice.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
By the way, Bo, I really like the design of the revolver compressor. It does look like an innovative kind of thing, especially that vertical line where it's going to be the output, right? The
metering, the video metering.
The video meter, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of a novel, I guess.
Yeah, and the coloring looks like a cross between and the fonts. They look like a cross between a film noir and a James Bond movie.
And I guess you're going for some new formism kind of user interface, right?
Yeah, I wanted to sort of go away from the imitating hardware.
Yeah. Everybody's either doing skivomorphic stuff or imitating Melda production.
Yeah.
And FabFilter.
I should add a screw or something there.
Oh, yeah.
So
and some wood.
Do you plan for this to be a kind of a compressor that you would like tune in exact numbers, or because I don't see any units of measurement, no scales, nothing on the user interface. So I suppose that this is going to be more like a flavor kind of compressor, and you put it on the track and you play with the knobs, and if you like what you hear, then that's it.
Yeah, exactly. So this is based, I think I sent you the Revolver compressor, one of the prototypes I had for it. I sent you one and Aria one. And I noticed that there's very little point in, because there's no exact like takt time, there's no exact threshold time, there's no specific and you can so for the velocity you can put like a millisecond number there, but it's not going to be that useful anyways, because it's an IRR filter and it's not going to be exact. The side chain is going to be on. So this is the internal side chain. This is the external. Low cut, sure, I can put hertz in here, but I've gone the route of not adding any number at all. So I thought I'd stick to it. But then again, it's still in the prototype stage. I might change my mind.
Yeah, I have a suggestion in this direction, in this design direction, and this reminds me of plugins by Baby Audio because of the neumorphism. Yeah. Such a difficult word for me to say, neumorphism. And because of the controls that are a bit different. So one suggestion I have is to do something that they often do in their plugins, and that's the randomize button.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They usually use a dice icon.
Yep.
Sure, absolutely. I like randomizing. I shouldn't. Like I said, it's a prototype. I can add anything. I was thinking of maybe like having you press somewhere and another screen shows up where you can put in, where you can sort of input precise number. But let's see. Let's get this off the ground. I need to get Visual Studio to produce actual plugins now.
Yeah, but also I like that this. The low cut has 3 settings, and that reminds me of a free DC offset removal plugin. Sorry, it's called the Wire Grind Offset, and it only has 3 settings, 3 values: super low, bass drop, and guitar. So it forces you to only use those 3 low cut filters, and it's nice that you have those standard things, and it forces you to use only those in your production, and it's a nice kind of challenge, I guess.
Yeah.
Like
Sure.
it gives you, the developer, the edge of, hey, these are the correct values that you should be using, and that they should be right for most productions.
I could add like, there's 3 now. I could have like 4 or 5, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, and also the sidechain thing. Could you like add a drop-down menu that allows you to route the sidechain from an external track? But that would mean feeding the plugin the names of the tracks in Reaper or something like that. I don't know how to program a sidechain function inside.
Yeah, the RIA comp has options for you to choose a lot of different sidechain channel chain tracks, but I'm not sure all plugins do, all the other plugins do that. It's usually like internal or one external.
Yeah.
And we'll see. I need to get Visual Studio to produce plugins. That's my main priority. This was sort of to relax my brain to actually produce something that looked okay.
Yeah, I totally get it, because that's what I did in the previous meetings, right? I only designed things and didn't make the actual plugins.
Yeah. Oh, this is my take on an interface, on a UI.
Yeah.
So that's it for me, I guess. Unless
make sure you add your name on the GUI.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
But hang on, can you tell us what is going wrong with Visual Studio and what is the problem you're running into?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Let's quit a couple of applications.
While you are doing this, I will answer some people here on the chat. So Joel is asking, another quick OBS plugin question. What is the latest version of OBS that is compatible? 27. Anything that says 27. I think it's 27.4.2, but I may be misremembering. But yeah, version 27 should be compatible. And Mage says, I liked last week's Synthwave Neo interface as well. I think he is talking about Fotis' interface for his sampler.
Oh, then prepare to be disappointed, Mage, because today's plugin looks a lot blonder.
Ah.
It's on purpose, though. But I promise I will make a synthwavier version and less creepy. By the way, this OBS update reminds me that this month we have seen a lot of big changes from other software as well that have caused many incompatibilities. For example, my favorite music player for Windows, and it has a Mac version. It's called Fullbar 2000, and it has now begun rolling out its version 2. Which finally introduces a 64-bit build, but it's still in its early version, and many of the plugins were only created for the 32-bit, and some of them don't even work in the version 2 beta. So we are in a transitional phase where all the developers are forced to recreate their plugins in order to be compatible with the new version. It's exactly the same thing that's happening with OBS right now.
Yeah, there is this tension between keeping things forward compatible and backward compatible and trying to move things along, trying to make new things that will, in some cases, inevitably break things that are working. I like the attitude of the OBS people, and the JavaScript community also has this ethos of just, yeah, if it needs to break for good reasons, then let's break it. I think it's better than trying to hang on to like Java 8. I know that there are applications for this if you are a bank, if you are flying airplanes, but if you're just trying to play music or you're trying to stream something, it's okay. Just break it. People will move forward if you break things. If you don't break things, you end up in a bad situation. On the other hand, I do appreciate that Reaper, for instance, can probably still open projects that were created 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
But then again, your plugins probably have been updated and the project will not open because of them. So, let things break.
Yeah, and one final comment on this. Remember an HISC plugin that I showed in a couple of meetings ago, the Mantra, the one with the surreal, crazy interface with the animations. They also made the version 2 now because apparently they became much more experienced at using HISC. And now they have improved their compression file. They have even changed the encryption of the samples and created their own file extension. And their plugin is much more optimized and better functional. So, but this means that your old projects created with an earlier version won't work anymore. You have to delete the samples and re-download them with the new encryption, the new standard. But at least they take up much less space, so there's that.
I'm okay with that, but are you saying that they encrypt the samples?
Yeah, actually HISC gives you the option to do that because there are some people who are trying to drill inside those files. I know that for a fact that a lot of contact companies are doing that because they don't want their samples to be stolen.
Oh, but how can you even encrypt this? You could always go into a DAW and then play and record, and then you have the samples. So
yeah, there's that. But
sounds silly to me.
It is, but the thing that maybe the sample library may include the raw samples, but the plugin itself is doing some sort of processing. So no matter what you do, you don't get the raw samples when you record them in a DAW. And even if you do that, you'll have to take into account that the samples are multi-velocity and sometimes they have multiple articulations and things like that. So stealing them will be very time-consuming.
Well, it's one script away.
I'm going to show you a method in my presentation. So yeah.
Yeah. And to our point of breaking things, Mage is saying masochistic alpha testers love typing GitHub issues. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I know you're saying that in jest, but I think that is a good way of paying back the work of the open source maintainers. They are doing work that you use for free, so the least you can do is contribute back somehow, and you may want to pay. That's fine. Go to Patreon. The link is below in the description. Or you can report issues and beta test things, or you can promote things. So maybe you do a live stream and you talk about the nice things you're using, and that's fine. But at least you're doing something. So, Bo, what have we here?
I just had a brainwave. I'm thinking, since I was setting up a folder path for Fotis plugin, I was thinking, is my Reaper not registering the correct folder? But I think it's doing that.
Did you try clearing the cache? There is an option in preferences that allows you to clear the VST cache and rescan all the things.
Yeah, I did that.
Okay. Sorry, I wasn't watching.
No, that's okay. It's okay. I got the brainwave, the idea that it might not be Visual Studio, it might be Reaper that's not finding the plugins. But if we look at the folder, this is what a working plugin looks like. Same as before, and these are the non-functioning ones. And these I produced since the last. Well, I did a reinstall of both Visual Studio and iPlug.
Yeah, we can see the dates on the folders. The date modified. They were this last month.
Mm-hmm. So I have no idea where to start. I got it to produce these folders. When I first started, it didn't produce anything. But then I found this sort of troubleshooting page for Visual Studio somewhere, and I got it to produce folders, but it seems to be the wrong kind of folders that won't load in Reaper.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, it seems to be at that same step we were last time, where it is producing folders, but it's not turning the folders into bundles.
Yep.
Whatever that means. Can you give us like a walkthrough of building the plugin?
Sure. So what I usually do, so this is, yeah.
Oh, wait, Bo, do you see right on the left there is that drop-down menu that says debug? Can you change it to release? There it is. Could you try building again?
And right now we are trying to build the VST3 version. Is the standalone app working?
The standalone apps usually boots, so that's no issue.
Okay. And are you super duper sure that you have installed the SDKs? Remember that when you first installed iPlug, you had to run a little bash script on the git bash terminal, and that downloaded the SDKs. Do you remember doing that?
I remember doing that the first time, because I rewatched that stream when I reinstalled, and I'm pretty sure I did that again.
Okay.
Plug sidechain, 24, and there's no different.
But just what we did right now is that we built a standalone application. Probably you have to switch to the VST2 or VST3.
This is the VST3, isn't it?
You see, the iPlug sidechain app is more white.
Oh, it's highlighted. Okay.
Yeah, this is kind of what is selected right now and building. What you have to do is to right-click and then I don't remember which one was.
Maybe you have to double-click on the CPP that is on that one. Yes. Oh, that seems to be the one that's loaded.
There should be something like set a startup project probably, but I'm not sure. There should be something like select this project or something like that.
Set a startup project. Should that be the one?
See, the highlight is changed.
Yeah, dude,
right.
Cwits.
And we got
Cwits saves the day again.
Similar error that we have previous time. Yes? Looks like that.
Yeah.
But cool that
24th.
Did we manage this error previous time? I don't remember.
I remember Tail helping out, rebuilding some dependencies or something. Retarget projects.
But main idea of the Visual Studio is that you can have a lot of projects in like one project. Yeah, like we see here, AAX, standalone VST3 and VST3, but Visual Studio is building only selected project.
Okay. Yeah, it didn't boot any. Oh, it just stops. It won't compile this. Error message.
Looks like similarly that we have previous time, but I totally not remember what we do.
Post built-in bats. Any ideas in the chat?
I'm actually talking about something else in the chat, but since you asked, Mage is talking about Patreon, and that's interesting. That's an interesting little thing about Patreon. They used to charge you on the 1st of every month. So, for instance, if you got into my Patreon right now, you would be charged today and then 3 days from now, because it would be October 1st. But Patreon just rolled out this change, and creators can opt into this, and I did. And now you are charged once a month, no matter when you join. So you would be charged on the 28th of September and on the 28th of October. And this way, people are not penalized by joining later in the month. So Mage, if you're interested, you can go ahead and do that right now. And I appreciate that. And I have another, I want to keep pushing this idea of, is everything installed in terms of the SDK and the pre-built libraries? So do you want to take a moment and double check that? Because I think it's always helpful to double check the assumptions. So the way I thought about doing that is we have here, hey, that works. So we have here the instructions for installing iPlug 2 on Windows. And I saw that we have to run two scripts, these two scripts. So I opened these two scripts, and now we can read what they're doing. And it is pretty simple, actually. They are just cloning some repositories in a particular location. So essentially, they're downloading stuff from GitHub. So what I want you to do is to go to the place where you installed iPlug 2 and navigate to iPlug 2, dependencies, iPlug, and then try to find the folder like the WAM SDK, WAM AWP, and VST3 SDK, which I think is probably the most important one, VST3 SDK. And if you can see stuff in this directory, it means it works.
So come again, iPlug, which folder, next one?
Yeah, it's the thing you see on the screen, iPlug 2, dependencies, iPlug, VST3 SDK.
iPlug next.
I'm not seeing your screen, so hence me asking. So VST3 SDK.
There is something.
Is that it?
Yes. So it seems like this script has worked because we see material going on there. And then let's check the download pre-built libs. And for that one, what we are looking for is under the dependencies folder, we should see a zip file.
Dependencies. Okay, it's this one.
No, we don't see a zip file there. And yeah, what I'm doing now is I am reading the script, the download pre-built libs script, and it is downloading this zip file that depends on your platform. And in your case, I think it would be iPlug2 dapswin.zip. And this file is supposed to be downloaded on the dependencies folder. So it seems to me as though this has not happened.
Mm-hmm. So should I use the... Sorry, Cwits?
Probably script removing that zip file later. There it is, rm.
Oh, it is removing the zip file. So we would need to know what is in this zip file to determine whether the script ran. Well, that's easy. I can download the script file real quick. The zip file, not the script file, the zip file. So now the question is, do you see these kinds of things in which folders? Well, I guess, do you see a build directory?
Build. That looks familiar. The win or the source?
Yeah, that. Exactly. Win or source.
And then?
Well, then you will find something that looks like this. In the win directory, you will see x64, and then you will see debug and release, and in there you will find a bunch of .lib files.
Debug release.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that this proves that you followed the instructions correctly. It is always nice to check.
Yeah.
So the problem is somewhere else?
Yeah. I don't know. Could we extract anything from these error messages?
It is the same error as before, and it is in this script that tries to create a bundle. There is a little triangle to the left of the error message. Can you click on that? Because perhaps it will expand and give us more information. It exited with code 9009. What does that code mean? Code 9009. This is fascinating. I found this on Google. Whatibroke.com. It appears that a file couldn't be found. The solution was to simply restart Visual Studio.
Huh?
Don't think so.
No.
That looks like.
But
Try
if
that.
the What I Broke website is telling us that, yeah, this really seems like one of those websites that compile answers from Stack Overflow. Oh, the problem is probably happening as part of the post-build step. That checks out. The build is compiling stuff. That has worked. And then you're trying to create a bundle, which is not working. Now, the error means a bad path. Interesting. Of course, you didn't set up the path.
Nope.
But it could be nice to check the path in environment variable on Windows 7. That's outdated, but still, we could look at your environment variables to see if there is something that stands out. Either something is missing or something is there that shouldn't be there, but I think it's something missing, which would be hard to tell. But okay, now we have more information. It is a file that's missing.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
Or a file that couldn't be found. Can you show us the error message again to see what is this file that couldn't be found? Well, let's check that this batch file exists. So go to C, users, danner, dev, iPlug 2, examples, iPlug, sidechain, so on and so forth.
2 examples. What was so Daniel, the iPlug 2 examples, and then
I don't know. Look at the error message. I was reading from there. It is iPlug, sidechain,
projects,
scripts. It is the error message that is right here, the one that I'm pointing at.
Like I said, I'm looking at my screen now and not the Skype screen. Sorry.
Oh, so the error message says the command call, and then gives you a path. I'm trying to check if that file is there.
Oh, that one. Command, the last line. All right. Examples, iPlug, sidechain, scripts, post build winbats. Sidechain script.
Probably the VST3 file was builded correctly, and but I'm not sure. You can check for that also. Post build,
there's no winbat here, so
there is post build win.bat. We're looking for different file.
Yeah, no, I think that's the one, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, post build winbat. Okay. Post build winbat. Does that line say? I mean, the line extends. Is it all of these files?
Yeah. Probably one of them.
Create bundle sounds suspicious.
Yeah, so you know what? I guess you have homework now, because there is not just one, there is a bunch of files mentioned in that error message. So I guess your homework could be go over the files mentioned there and verify that they exist. If they all exist, then there is something else. But if one of these files doesn't exist, then it will point us at what is going wrong. So for instance, if there is a file missing in the VST3 SDK folder, which is one of the folders that we saw in the dependencies when we double-checked that a moment ago. So we can check that those files exist, like the Steinberg logo file is mentioned there. So we should check if that file really is there, and do the same for all the other files that are mentioned in the error message.
Cool. Yeah, I will do that. I'm taking up too much valuable time for everyone. Who wants to go next?
Fotis?
Oh, and there are some suggestions on the chat, on the YouTube chat as well, that you should check out. Dale is telling us that the thing that fails is what would change the folder into a VST3, but I don't really know.
Yeah.
And somewhat off topic, but why would there be pre-built libs for iPlug 2? Aren't we building from source scratch? I don't know. It is a good question. Perhaps they are distributing the dependencies as binaries because the dependencies would need much more infrastructure to build. They would need even more dependencies and crazy stuff to build. So they're giving you the dependencies already compiled? Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna share my screen, sorry.
No way.
Yeah, Mage, what you were saying here on the chat checks out. You're saying it still says charged today and repeats on the 28th of each month. That's correct, right? Today is the 28th and it repeats on the 28th of each month. And that's different. It used to be the case that it would always charge you on the 1st. Always charge you on the 1st. So you would pay today and on the 1st, which is what? It is Saturday. So you would pay today and Saturday. But now you would pay today and 1 month from now. You can wait for the 1st. it's up to you. But I'm just saying that it works the right way now. That the thing that everyone complained about Patreon, they fixed. Oh, and Dale is saying, why is AAX mentioned? Aren't we building VSC3? Good point. Was AAX mentioned anywhere? I don't remember seeing it, but that's a Pro Tools thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
I think that HISC also gives you the option to export AAX. Oh wait, I see the AAX on the left.
Ah, fair point. Yeah, so I don't think I saw the AAX SDK mentioned in on those files that we were looking at.
But
No,
we are not trying to build AAX.
I think that you have to actually buy the SDK from Avid, I think. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, but so the first time I set it up, it produced a functioning bundle plugin.
Oh, it did?
Without me buying anything, or I followed the installed instructions. What it was me updating to, I updated to Visual Studio, and then everything broke.
Oh.
Yeah, and I guess I'm going to assign you a second piece of homework then, and that is to go to the iPlug 2 developers and ask them about this, because it has been a while and you worked on this for a long time now. And I don't know what's the right way of doing this. I don't know if they have some kind of Discord server, if they prefer to use GitHub discussions, if they prefer to use GitHub issues.
There's a forum. There's a forum. And Oli has, he's going to update to 2021, so, or 2022, and see if he gets the same issues.
Oh yeah, and here on GitHub discussions, there is also this issues while following starter documents. So perhaps you could come in here and talk about this.
All right.
Okay, so time for me to share my update.
Yes.
And sharing my screen, sharing sound. Boom.
Do I have time to smoke a cigarette, Fotis?
Go ahead, Cwits.
That's the first time everyone has said it in a meeting.
No, I just want to smoke.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Starter.
So this is my thing. Can you see it?
Yes.
And you can hear it, right?
Yes.
We can.
So this is my latest creation with HISC. It's a pad synth that only uses samples, not actual synthesis, because I wanted to check how HISC's Rompler functions work. I named it Padfoot because that was the nickname of Sirius Black in Harry Potter, and it's a play on words because it's a pad. Get it? And it's polyphonic. I'm gonna show you how I created it step by step. By all means, I'm not an expert. This is literally my first Rompler in HISC, and I have made some things wrong. And not just the GUI, I realized that the reverb should have been a bit lower to look like this. But we have attack, release, volume. I didn't use decay and sustain because it's a pad and they're supposed to be in maximum. I wanted it to be as simple as possible. And also we have a reverb. It's not the convolution reverb of HISC, it's just a simple algorithmic reverb. And you have the size and the damping. So So let's see how I made this thing.
Which parts you created and which parts are from HISC? For instance, the samples, I suppose you created. The reverb, I suppose you got from HISC.
Yeah, it's built-in. It's one of the effects that HISC gives you. And I created the GUI. The knobs are the default HISC design, but I had to tweak them so that they go up to 20,000 milliseconds, which is the maximum. And that's about it. Now, first, I created the sounds using Vital, which also got an update fairly recently. This is a free synth. You're probably familiar with it, but I did use a synthwave skin that I found somewhere. So Mage, you can be happy with this, I hope. And the new update also breaks some compatibility. I mean, the sounds the presets that you make with this version won't be compatible with the previous versions. Somebody's chatting. Sorry. Cwits is saying...
Yeah, that's me.
Oh, yeah. Bo, he's talking about you. Can you check it out? On the Skype chat. Anyway.
Will do, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So the new update is very well optimized, much quicker. It has some bug fixes. But if you create some presets here, they're not going to work with previous versions of Vital. So keep that in mind. But it is backwards compatible with older presets. So, but the sounds I created using this thing, which is called Vinetics. And it's a crazy little free thing that I found on GitHub. I'm going to post a link to it in the chat once I'm done. And this allows you to load the folder of Vital presets. You can find a lot of free Vital presets in the official Vital forum. And then this thing loads the presets, and then it generates some mutated some mutated presets. So it takes little parameters from this one and this one, for example, and then it creates a child preset, for example, create so many different presets just by blending the ones you have. And I chose one that I liked. I don't remember the name, but let's pick this one just for an example. Did it work? All right, yeah. Wait, oh yeah, this one is very low in volume. How about this one? Oh, that's a bit loud, sorry. I'm gonna tweak it a bit. Let's turn down the filter. Oh, it's a notch filter. Oh, come on. I forgot how to... Anyway, I'll just pick another preset. How about this? Yeah, okay, that's enough. That's good enough. Okay, so I'm using an action. I have made a shortcut here, but I'm going to show you the name of it. It's called Sampling Tool. Oh, it's by MPL Scripts. It's available in Repack. So what you do is you load a synth or a sampling instrument like Contact. You choose the length of the notes and also the octaves. This is usually the C3 and this is the C6. And then you have to click on the track and then press start sampling and then you wait. So this is how you steal samples from Contact, ladies and gentlemen. Oh no, please don't do that. Don't do it.
So before I said, yeah, it's only a script away and you don't even have to write the script because MPL wrote it for you.
Yeah. Though it doesn't have an option to change velocity. I told him about it, but he said that it's going to be a piece of work. But I guess I can do it myself by editing the script, right? So anything is possible with Lua. Yeah, so now we wait for it to generate the MIDI notes, and also it's gonna create 2 tracks. One of these is going to use the Resamplomatic 5000, which is the default Reaper sampler. But for some reason, it doesn't work well, at least on my end. But we're not going to need it anyway. After all it does is generate these waveforms.
And what's the second track? You said it would create 2 tracks. One is Resamplomatic. What is the other one?
The other one is just a hybrid take. It has 2 takes. The one is the same MIDI notes that you see here, and the other has the samples that you render, but isolated. You're gonna see it in 10 seconds. Please be patient.
I see. And I guess this is useful for when you have some analog synthesizer and you want to capture sounds from it, right?
Yeah, I am going to do that actually in the next meeting. Come on.
15,
and
16.
Boom, there it is. So this is the track with Resamplomatic, and let's delete that. And here we have the recordings and also MIDI notes in separate takes. And if you want, you can just use the script that says explode takes across tracks, and boom. And now you can just keep those samples and do whatever you want with them. So this was the first step. The second one was creating loops out of these. And remember how my previous meetings were less Fotis makes things and more like Fotis shows off things that he bought? Well, this time I'm gonna do both. So this is a thing that I bought called the batch Expader. And yes, before you say it, yes, there is a Reaper script that does kind of sort of the same thing, but I'm not happy with the way it works. It has some errors with the looping and such. And this has some extra goodies. So what this thing is doing is you load a bunch of samples like this one, and you determine the loop points, the attack, the amount that it's going to loop. It has phase alignment. It allows you to create fade-ins and trimming. It has some nice features. You can type the exact number of samples that you want to cut or fade in. It also has convert to mono. And it also has some embedded loop functions for people who are using Akai MPC. I think that's how it's used. And also a single cycle waveform extractor that's going to be very useful for people who want to create, who wants to go record samples from analog synths, because this allows you to create your own wavetables. And this is going to be my experiment for the next meeting, because HISE also has a wavetable synthesizer, and I haven't used that one yet. So then you select a folder, you can resample the samples if you want. And I'm going to show you what I did. This is from the Padfoot, the sounds that you saw. This was the raw, like this one. This was the raw sample that I extracted from Reaper. And this is the loop that I created with the thing batch Expader. Oh, and by the way, this thing is created with JUCE, if believe it or not. So yeah, I was surprised that somebody didn't use it for a VST, but actually for a standalone.
Yeah, it has the JUCE look and feel.
Yeah. So if I hold Shift and press space, it's gonna loop it. It's a perfect loop. and there is this slight volume dip, but it was intentional. You can actually change the kind of fade you want to do. So I did this to all the samples. Also, a nice way, a good rule of thumb is to name your samples according to the notes, either by using 3 digits like 036, or by using the MIDI note number, for example, C3 or D4 or whatever. That also helps with the single function in a batch Expader. And it also makes your life easier with HISC. I think it all has a similar way of detecting the samples. So this is how we made the samples. Now let's go to HISC and let's look at the project and how I created the VST. By the way, I exported it in VST2 just because it compiles faster, but if I end up releasing it, it will be in VST3. So Steinberg, please don't kill me. So here it is. This is the presentation mode, and now I can actually fix that issue. There it is. Now my OCD can rest easy. So we have the controls, the knobs. You can check out the parameters and that are linked. And also you remember that the attack and release should have these settings. You have to change it from linear to time, so it shows milliseconds here. And we have the simple AHDSR envelope, and the simple reverb, the algorithmic one. Did I do anything else? Let me think. Oh yeah, the sampler. So if you go here, you can go to the different workspace, the sampler workspace, which looks a lot like the Contact one, actually. And that's a good thing for people who want to transition from Contact. And also I was relieved that it allows you to create pitch shifting for any samples that you may have not created. So for notes 35 and below, it just plays back the note 36. And by the way, we're not going to have the haunted keyboard this time. So yeah, you can see. Oh, I forgot. Can we expand it to more octaves? I don't remember. But yeah, for the lowest, we can use this one. Okay, so the samples from 0 to 35 are just the note 36 pitch shifted. And likewise, the C6, which is 72, you can go. It pitch shifts those notes, so that's a nice thing to have. I did make a mistake, and I'll show it in Reaper again once it loads. Also, yeah, one thing to note is that you have to create a sample map with this diskette button. So it saves all your samples, all your sample locations and settings in an XML file that you can see here. Also, if you're making an SFZ library, you can actually load the SFZ here, and it will automatically map the samples in the notes, which is an awesome function. What else? Oh yeah, and also like I said in the previous meeting, HISC is using its own. I should have this enabled. Sorry, its own file system called HLAC, which is like FLAC, but it compresses them a bit more. Anyway, I'm going to experiment with this later, because well, that's why I leave it unchecked. And then where is the, oh yeah, you have to click this thing, which exports the files in the ch1 file that Bo was talking about earlier. And you can actually compress it with a function. It compresses it to a file called hr1. But if you load it in the VST, it then uncompresses, whatever the word is, back to ch1. So it's a nice thing to have, but I wanted to have it uncompressed just so it loads faster for Bo and Cwits. The one mistake that I made, apart from the misplacement of the reverb, is that there is a weird gap when the samples loop, even when I turn up the attack and release. There. Even if I take it to 20,000 milliseconds, it still happens. So it's probably a mistake that I made here. Maybe I could use this loop Expader function, or maybe create some different settings here. I'm gonna look into it. But for now, there is a workaround, and that workaround is just reverb the hell out of it. And there you go, the reverb just completely covered the gap. So I can pretend it doesn't exist. So there's that. Until the next version, this is the only workaround. But yeah, there you go. So this is my first Rompler created with HISE. And I'm proud of it. And I would like to see how this goes with drum plugins, so I can finally create the second version of my drum plugin organic Kalskin kit. And also I could explore some more settings here, and that experiment I said for the next meeting, where I have this old Yamaha PSR keyboard. It belongs to my dad, but he allows me to play with it. So I'm going to extract some single cycle waveforms from that and create this wavetable synthesizer. So I'm going to explore that, and it should be tons of fun. Do you have any questions?
Not on my end. It looks cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Seems fun.
And
thanks, guys.
Did you look into incorporating the synthesizer into this?
Oh yeah, I didn't actually, because I wanted to first understand how the samples worked, and the first time I built it, the samples didn't even work. Because I forgot to, I actually exported the plugin without creating the sample map, which was a dumb mistake. But yeah, thanks for reminding me. Actually, I actually forgot that.
Yeah, because so far everything you did is something that could be done in Sforzando, in Decent Sampler, Contact, all these sample players.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, but hey, I made the first step.
Yeah, right.
Congratulations.
Thanks. So now it should be relatively easy. Oh, now that I think of it, I should create an AHDHR envelope that applies both to the synth and the sampler. So that should be a challenge. There should be a way to link those parameters together, I guess.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. And congratulations on your first Rompler.
Thank you. It works! It works!
Could I, Leandro, the page you had up with the GitHub's iPlug with the issues starter pack, do you have that still?
Hang
What
on.
was the?
Reopen last closed tab. I suppose you're talking about this. Is that it? The discussions page about issues following the starter documents?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, I'll send you the link.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much.
All right. So, Cwits, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hello.
Finish a cigarette.
So, what do you have to show us?
How to share whole screen, not the exact application.
When you press the share screen button, it gives.
Okay, yeah, I got it.
Nice wallpaper.
Yeah, probably I have to change it. Oh.
No, it looks nice.
But thank you. So, what I've got here, I wouldn't say that I don't have anything to show. Let's check this one. How it looks like. Previously, when I was making some of controlling elements of my modules, I don't know anything else, yes, I have to done something like this. I have to write the text for exact variable, yes, and I have to write a bunch of code to display variable to control that variable, yeah, like where it is, like this one. Do the bunch of if else's and it was a little bit annoying, because if you will change something, then you have to keep in mind that you have to change code in many places, and not so great practice. So what I've became to, I made something like menu. So all of those if else structures is changed by this. Only one. Okay, there is 4 lines of code. Here is also, yeah. If we compare to the if we compare these two, there is huge difference, yes, between this one and this one. Doing a lot of things.
Yeah, all the nested ifs are a little bit scary.
Yeah. That's the main reason. And in drawing GUI, there is only this function. So also a bunch of other functions is more the place. So I've made something like menu for controls of my audio MIDI modules, aids of potentiometers and the buttons around display, around push display. Yes, and the greatest thing of all of that is that I have to do something like this, where I'm defining all structure of my menu. I'm appending here different controls. I can do different buttons, and then passing values, pointers to values to them, and they are working like on their own. So yeah, so something like this. But of course, all of code is not drastically huge, and there is also bunch of, not bunch, maybe couple tricks. The trickiest part in all of this was to get those values printed correctly, because the type of value can be different. For example, for zoom, it is float, yes. For sample select start, it is frame t, what is unsigned integer. For example, for volume, it's double. This is totally different. This unsigned int 32. This is totally different data types, and how to manage them correctly. I'm not gonna to do like something like that, yes, and so on for each individual type to have their own level. So there is standard thing, standard library thing called any, which is, yeah, as I can see, type safe container of any type. So we can store any type of variable, no, any variable of any type inside of that. Everything will be fine. Just we have to do when I'm drawing them, I have to do this type check. Like if type of variable is frame t, I have to cast it to that type, exactly that type. Yeah. Otherwise, it wouldn't work. And everything works great.
So I guess this time you didn't implement a lot of new features and you focused on reorganizing the code base.
Probably, yeah. In a if you shorten all I said, then yes. But this is a little bit easier than writing a lot of if else's in different places at the same time. Just doing something like this, and I have all the controls in like one structure, and they are updating themselves, they are working themselves. Okay, I have to have callback functions, yes. Different callbacks for different values. This, in my opinion, this is easier than writing a bunch of spaghetti code. This is how callbacks looks like.
So the spirit of the refactoring you did is you transformed things that used to be expressed in terms of code, a bunch of if then else's that were nested, and now you express that concept in terms of data structures. That's the data structure that we saw before, where you were appending a bunch of, I guess, pointers. I don't remember, but you were appending a bunch of things.
Yeah, there is a bunch of pointers. Probably you're right. Actually, I steal this code from the internet, not GitHub, but from the internet, and a little bit reworked it because that way was more complicated than mine. There was everything under one structure and kind of crazy things happened, and I made it like separate structure for controls, for buttons, the actual menu, which holds all controls and buttons. So there can be, I tried to make it like a original Ableton push controls, then that in the bottom you have different menus and you can switch between them, and then on the top of display you have buttons and shoulder controls. So yeah, somehow like that.
Very nice.
If we can be briefly, if you want, I have one bonus thing.
Yes.
I started to work on the Monday. Didn't finish, but I'm trying hard. So, as I mentioned, someone I have experience in microcontroller. So right now I have some board like this, connected to something like this. Oh, this one is called debugger, hardware debugger. I don't know. Yeah, and this is different IDE where I can write code for my controller, and we can debug. Why I like microcontrollers? This is because, okay, there is available all basic things of like regular C++ programming code. You can debug, you can scroll through it, but here you can watch all registers available on microcontrollers. For example, there is a bunch of timers, some interfaces, I2C, SPI, SWART, ADC, analog to digital converter. You can watch all the registers and you can look how they are actually changing. For example, let's go here. What we are doing, we are enabling here what frequency? Blocking thing.
No, but this kind of view is super nice. I really like that.
We're enabling clock for the peripherals. For example, this command will enable clock for I2C1 interface. And we can try to find it.
This view reminds me of the JSFX editor for some reason.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that I really like about the JSFX editor.
Here it is. This is clock, APB1 enable register, I2C1 enable. You can step over. Here it becomes to 1. That means that I2C1 interface is enabled. You can check all of the registers of the actual processor. Yes, you can do. In my case, it helps a lot to understand how microcontrollers and processors in general working, because the idea is the same. No, am I wrong?
No, yeah, absolutely. And is there something that you are doing right now besides just experimenting with this True Studio thing and playing around with the debugger? Are you building some kind of project there?
Yes, of course. I'm building. I want to communicate my Raspberry Pi with that microcontroller through I2C interface. And what we have now, wait a second. lot of folders, backups, and this is it. Yes. So what I'm doing here is I'm opening the I2C interface and trying to send command to my, and try to send data to my microcontroller and try to read data from it. We can execute this and we'll get 15 here. Try to remember these two variables, 0xff and 0xf1. We can go then here, go to expressions, and this is buffer where I'm writing all that. And here they are. Those two I sent from my Raspberry Pi. And then here it is. There is scene we got as a response here.
Right, so now you have the Raspberry Pi connected to an Ableton Push, and then you have a microcontroller that is connected to the Raspberry Pi.
Yes, something like that. I will not say why I need that microcontroller. It will be like a little small intrigue for the next time, next our meeting. But I hope it will help me to solve one of my problems that I have with my project. It is still related to the project, of course. Otherwise, I wouldn't do that. But just started.
All right then. So I guess
the suspense is killing me.
Yeah, the homework for next meeting is to finish this integration, and then we'll see what it does.
Yeah, but probably yes. If everything will work on the next meeting, then we will see. And I hope everything will work. It should be.
All right, looking forward to that. Good luck to you, and
thank you.
Yeah, okay, so I think that with that we can wrap up, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm good.
All right then. So thank you, Fotis, Bo, and Cwits for joining me here on the meeting, and thank you to Dale and Mage and Joel for joining us on the chat. And Cwits, Dale is saying that he has done some audio digital signal processing on an ARM Cortex M3 microcontroller. That's interesting. I didn't know that you did that kind of thing, Dale. Yeah, all right. So the schedule moving forward is I will probably take a break tomorrow, and I see you all back here on Friday for more Automixer stuff. And I see you all in 2 weeks for another meeting of the C++ Digital Signal Processing JUCE, iPlug, HISC, and Raspberry Pi / Ableton Push study group.
The title just keeps getting longer.
Yes. All right. Thank you all very much for joining me. I see you on Friday, probably.
Thank you, guys. Take care, everyone.
Bye.
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 Thank you for watching the stream. You know how great it has been. Or maybe it sucked, and I am glad that you stuck with me. And soon we'll all be back together for some more coding or talking or chilling. The next time I'll be streaming.